Some say it's the number one fear, and others say it's number two. But fear of public speaking can be a challenge for many people. However, did you know that some of the tactics used to handle this form of anxiety can help a person in all other areas of their life? Let's have ourselves a pocket-sized pep talk and hear from my guest who's going to help us in both situations.
A pocket-sized pep talk, the podcast that can help energize your business and your life with a quick, inspiring message. Now, here's your host, Rob Jolles.
Today's guest, Bill Hellcamp, has dedicated the past 30 years to helping professionals maximize their capabilities. He's a noted facilitator, executive coach, and speaker. He delivers to thousands of businesses, governments, community leaders throughout the United States and, looking at his bio, around the world. His organization, Reach Development Systems, specializes in presentation skills, sales development, and leadership training. Today, we're going to pin him down on the presentation skills side, and I want to focus on overcoming anxiety. Bill, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Rob. I'm excited to be here.
Good. Well, it's great to have you here.
Yep.
I've done a little public speaking of my own, so I'm looking forward to matching wits with you, see where we go. But I love this topic, and I will tell you that Bill's got plenty of topics, but this was the one I really like because so many people struggle with it.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, and so let's hold anxiety and let's get to you as a trainer first, because as a trainer, we're subject matter experts on anxiety.
Right.
So what brought you to become a trainer? Why that profession?
Well, I guess I've always had, my dad throw books under me, be better at this, be better at that. And I had just finished college and was fairly disappointed in the quality of education coming out of college. I guess I remember most of my time spent in college thinking either these people really don't know anything because they've never done whatever they're teaching to me, or this is not applicable to anything in life. I was already semi-managing a retail store during college as assistant manager and taking a management class and thinking, this guy's never managed a person in his life. And none of this stuff that he says will work, because it doesn't deal with the emotion and people. So coming out of college, the company I was working for had me take a course in public speaking and people skills. And I took that class and everything, Rob, was valuable. Everything we did meant something. Everything we did was emotionally impactful to me. And to give an example of what was happening, I was kind of an arrogant young man, as many of us are. And so I was talking to my mailman who came into the store every day. And he said, Bill, how are things going? I said, they're going terrific. He said, you know what, Bill, seems like lately everything you say is going terrific. What's the difference? And the only difference I had was I was taking this course, which was getting me to look at my life in a different way and think a different way and see people in a different way. And from that moment on, I was really addicted to reading books. And when I had the opportunity, when I was fired, well, we were all fired from a company as it was bought out. I had 6 months to look around, and I went looking for the company that had taught me that course and asked them if I could teach it. And so I purposefully went into this business because of what it had done for me at one point.
Well, it's a terrific story. And I'll bet you if we put 10 professional speakers and trainers on the line, I'll bet 9 of them would have a similar story. So I got my hand up because I'm in a sense similar. I was a business major and I was memorizing land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship, the 4 principles of business. Just pounding in this information where I thought, is anybody ever going to ask me this? How is this helping me? And it was a requirement.
But I'll get my degree.
Right. It was a requirement to take a communications class. And all of a sudden, I just lit up. First of all, it spoke to me. I thought, this is information I can use right now. And it changed the trajectory. So I double majored, but I really wanted to keep getting into group communication, individual communication, and take that business with it. But something else you said really caught my ear. And that was when you said that you took a class on people skills. And I love that because I'm guessing that some people might call that soft skills.
That's
And I
right.
loathe that term. If you ever listen to any of my podcasts,
Okay.
I'll bet every fourth or fifth podcast, I am whining about this horrible term for the most vital skills we'll ever learn. And so I like people skills. Sometimes I call them performance skills, whatever. Let's get out of the soft skill business, because I've never met anybody who ever lost a job because their hard skills failed them. Okay. It's their soft skills, it's their people skills that really get in the way.
Yep.
So I'm impressed with the fact that, did you even call it that? Was that by accident?
To call it people skills?
Yeah.
No, I think that's what I've always called it. Although I do use the term soft skills professionally. I like your term performance skills better, because I think the numbers are in the 70 or 80 percentile that when people get let go of a job, it's because of the way they're dealing with other people.
Right.
And so how we deal and how we interact is so important. Almost all of my leadership material is about how we interact with other people. Almost all sales skills in many ways are how we're able to interact with other people and how we're able to challenge them and bring them to a new understanding of something. And so if you're not good at how you deal with people, you're probably not going to get very far. But the interesting thing is we're never taught that. We get our family, we get our parents. Hopefully we have good parents. If not, we get bad parents. And then we get our teachers. Maybe we have a few good teachers that we respect. It's very few. Most people can count on one hand the number of teachers they had that they respect. Maybe a coach. Usually there's a few more coaches they have that they respect. And we emulate those people. We don't know if they were good or bad. We only emulate them because those were our role models. And so to have a system that says, here's how you need to deal more effectively with people is very important, and proven and workable methods are very important, not just because I had one guy say to me, and he thought this, he grew up in the military. He thought this, he said, I yell at people, and if I'm not yelling at them, they're doing good. So they ought to know that they're doing great. If I'm not yelling at them, that's positive reinforcement. And I thought, wow, that's really sad for your people.
Right. That goes into that bad column you were just talking about. Right. I know which side of the line that
but
guy
he thinks he's right.
Yeah.
See, and right. He got fired from that job, still thinking he was right.
Right. Well, a lot of them are unconscious incompetence, because speaking of performance skills, most managers that I know have never been through a management training class. Mm-hmm. What they did was whatever widget they were moving down the line, they moved it faster than anybody else.
Right.
So somebody tapped them on the shoulder and said, guess what? Now you're a manager. They went, okay. And then they let go with some of the nonsense that this guy I just heard about. Which is about
the third level of management, which is productivity.
Right.
So I'm productive. So therefore I become a manager, but I'm not a leader. I'm just a manager. And there's a big difference between a manager and a leader.
Right. And clearly I can do this without any instruction whatsoever.
That's right. Because I know how to move those widgets fast. So you better move them fast too.
That's right. Or else.
Yeah.
Do you ever, you were talking about your teachers and things. Do you ever go back to the university and speak, the different universities and speak?
No, I avoid universities at this point. I have so little respect for the university system at this point, especially in how it's engaging young men. I think they're turning out a terrible product. I had 3 boys. They all went to a private university, and they pretty much, I made them pay their own way. So because I know myself, I know boys, and that is, if you don't pay for it, you don't believe it. And I screwed around enough in college. My father was kind enough to pay for it. So they paid about 90% of their own way. And I said, here's what you're going to do. You're going to get a major that has a job named after it. You're not getting a major because it's cute, because it's pretty. You're not paying private university $160,000 by the time it was all done. You're not going to get an English major, sociology major, psychology major. If you can go to the library and learn it, forget it. You're not paying $160,000 for the college experience. So I have an accountant, a business major who's in supply chain, and was an engineer. Then he went back and got his finance master's. So they know how to get something done. And to me, and the people said, well, then you're just sending your kids to a trade school. It's like, well, they better have a trade when they come out, because they got to pay for this thing.
Right. Okay. So, well, You sound a little bit like that guy you were just describing, but okay. All right. My kids got away with murder with me, but I was okay with that. I won't go there. I will tell you this, though. I'm going to challenge you, and then I want to move to anxiety,
Okay,
but I
great.
want to challenge you to rethink going to the universities. I do. I don't do it often. Certainly haven't done it in the last year and a half. But I go in there and I feel like, okay, you and I are on the same page right now, Bill. So let's build it better. Let's help them figure this out a little bit. So I do go to the business classes and talk about selling. I mean, selling, not theory, selling. We talk even presentation skills. They're learning the tell them what you're going to tell them, and tell them what you told them method, which I did learn in eighth grade, and I thought it was brilliant. Yes.
Many slides with bullet points, please.
Right. So let's, as professionals, my goal is I actually get challenged as long as they'll have me. I don't think they like me. The professors don't like me a lot when I leave, but I think the students do because we're talking from the real world and they appreciate that. So I may poke back at you in a month or two and see if you're following my lead on that one. But I go in because I think it's the thing to do because I agree it's broken. So guys like us, I can't fix it all, but I can go a class at a time. And so I've been at George Mason in Maryland and American University and University of Houston, LSU. I've been around and it
reminds me of the Rodney Dangerfield Back to School. Have you seen that?
Yes,
old
I
film?
have.
Anyway, he goes into the business class and the business professor's talking theory, and he starts to say, well, you got to remember all these things, and all the students start to write it down really fast. I see you as the Rodney Dangerfield of selling, going and telling them the real story, and all the students are breaking their pencils. They're writing so fast about the truth.
Well, by the way, you're dealing with not exactly a subject matter expert, but I know the film well. That's Sam Kinison, by the way, folks. That's Sam Kinison. He's talking about who says, "Well, Mr. Helper," and drills in on Rodney a little bit. But
he's
go
the
see
history
the movie.
Professor.
Okay. All right. So speaking of that particular scene, which is high anxiety, let's get at anxiety. Okay. It is a big issue for many people. Quite frankly, I think anybody could be a trainer or a speaker if they could just get rid of that little anxiety piece, which plagues them. So the floor is yours, and I'll chirp in when I can, but let's assume I'm listening right now. I'm in my car, I'm driving, and I'm saying that I get paralyzed with fear. What do I do?
Well, I think first thing we have to do is look at the causes of that. And so when we talk about the cause of that anxiety, there's some natural things that go on. One, just having people look at me, being the center of attention is not always people's favorite things. You talked about the number one fear of people possibly being public speaking, with number two being death. So Jerry Seinfeld said that if you're at a funeral, you'd rather be in the coffin than giving the eulogy. So I think that can be true in some cases. We just don't like it, and we don't like to be the center of attention. There's many people who don't like that, and so they like to stand back a little bit. I think it's made worse by most high school speech classes make this worse, and I'll give you a few reasons why. First of all, we're going to go into a high school speech class, and who's the audience? Other high school students, our peers. How do high school students get their entire social being raised up? By destroying yours, right? So if you're going to be the speaker, the way, every time you speak, your friends are just going to beat you up mercilessly about no matter what you did, any little mistake you made. So you're already in this situation. And then what does the teacher ask you to talk about? I remember a specific thing I talked about in college, the gold standard. Do you know what I knew? No, this was high school. Do you know what I know about the gold standard? Absolutely nothing. So my dad knew something about it. So I talked to him for about an hour. You know how you prepare for things in high school. So I spent an hour talking to my dad about the gold standard. I read a couple articles on it, and I wrote a couple notes in there. I was ready to go, right? And so now I'm going to talk to people who are mercilessly cruel about something I know nothing about. And then the third thing that we have to deal with is the teacher themselves. And what are they going to focus on? Well, here's what it's going to sound like afterwards. Well, you did a fine job, Billy, but you kind of seemed to be nervous and you were looking at your notes too much, and you said and a lot of times and very many times. And matter of fact, I counted the times you said and you stood too close to the podium, and then your knees seemed to be knocking and your hands were shaking. But other than that, you did a really good job, Billy. So get rid of those things and next time be better. And so we speak in front of people who are terrible. We speak about something we don't know about, so we have no expertise. And then we speak to someone who's going to tell us everything we did wrong. So the next time we get together, we get to go up there. What can we think about?
Wow.
Don't let your knees knock. Don't hold on to the podium. Don't say and. And when we're trying to not do something, we do it more and more. So if I'm going to say and, don't say and I'll say it over and over again. So when we teach public speaking, we do a couple of things. One, we try to reverse that and let them know that those videos they're playing from high school, and if they had a bad college instructor, college as well, they aren't true, because number one, you're only going to be allowed to speak about something you know about. And that's crucial, because if I am a subject matter expert, I should be the most knowledgeable person in the room about that. I shouldn't let my boss say, Bill, you need to speak about this thing you don't know anything about. Why would you put me in front of an audience to speak about something I don't know about? Put me in front of an audience to speak about things that have some level of expertise in and some level of comfort. So that's number one. Talk about things you know about, and your anxiety will tend to go down. The second thing that we do is we videotape people, which is a little bit uncomfortable for them. But when we look at the videotape, the interesting thing that we do is we try to tell them all the things they're doing right. So we use the video to, not videotape anymore, obviously digital, but we use the video to show them everything they're doing right. And then when they try to beat themselves up, no, look, I did this wrong. No, don't worry about that. I didn't even notice it. Here's all the things you're doing right. Keep focusing on what you're doing right. Now we're giving them real videos to watch where they did things right, and they can watch those over again before they have to do some kind of a presentation at work. And then the third thing we try to help them understand is that in most business situations, the people are willing to help you. They want you to do well. Your boss wants you to do well. His boss wants you to do well. She wants you to do well. These people all want you to do fine. They don't want you to have you crumble up there. And so they're going to support you. They're not a group of high school students. And so we help them understand that people are listening to the expert. They're listening for your expertise and not for everything that you might do wrong. So quit focusing on the few things you do wrong. Start to focus on the things that you do right, and play some videos in your mind of things that you've done successfully. And if you need to continue to build that, find opportunities. One of the biggest challenges we have is that we don't do it often enough. If I only speak every 3 months, I'm going to be starting over every time. So go to your church and see if you can be a lector and just read in front of a group of people. Talk to your boss and say, what situations can you put me in where I need to lead a team, or I need to stand up and do a couple of things? So I'm doing something on a weekly basis rather than on a every 3 month basis. So practice makes permanent. So practice more often as you can, and do practice before you go up there. Don't just pretend. Actually say the words that you're planning on saying. So they've rolled out of your mouth one time or two. So things are a little bit better. So those are some of our pieces of advice to get rid of anxiety.
I like them. I'm taking a lot of notes while you're talking, so I want to dip back and go over.
Sure.
A lot of nuggets there. A lot of nuggets. First of all, I love the fact that you isolate that high school experience and let them know that the real world isn't quite high school. I love the fact, and I just want people to lean on this. I want to make sure you heard what Bill just said. So I'm pulling out another piece, which is, I call it the track record. But so many people go, well, what if this happened? What if that happened? Okay, well, you have spoken before. Did the ceiling fall down? Right. Was there an explosion that way? Which one of those horrible fears actually occurred? Most people go, no. So what actually occurred? Well, it went better than I thought it would. Okay. So your track record is this usually actually goes well. I call it misusing your imagination. You're imagining things that the chances of them happening are slim to none. And oh, by the way,
we what if ourselves right into oblivion.
Right.
What if this happened? What if that happened? What? Never experienced any of those myself in 30 years of doing this.
And I'm hoping you'll agree with me on this, that as a pro, as a guy who's done a lot of talks. Listen, folks, for every 100 talks we do, I promise you, one was perfect. We tried to make it perfect, but it was at the bottom, and there were 98 in the middle somewhere. But an audience will forgive almost anything unless you make them feel badly. In other words, if they see that it's upsetting you, it upsets them. But
Right.
if you stumble on a chord, if you drop something and you just dust yourself off, get up and say, well, I never liked that chord anyway, the audience is thrilled. They'll actually remember that as their favorite part of the presentation. So, let's remember our track record. Let's not misuse our imagination. And one other thing, I'll tell you what, if we compare notes, one thing that I do on a professional level, and it gets at what you were talking about, is one of the modules I love teaching people who are speaking is how to deal with what I call a sniper. But okay, every now and then in a corporate environment, although it isn't high school, you've got one person, they're probably not going to be working there for 2 more weeks. They're angry at management. It has nothing to do with you, but you know what? They're going to be a pain in the neck. That's the fact. So we're going to call that a sniper. You might, if you gave a presentation every day of the week, you might get 1 or 2 a year. Right. So let's put you in a real category. You may get 1 or 2 in a lifetime, but they're there. So what if we actually come up with a strategy that says, if the worst thing that could happen does happen, and it isn't tripping over a cord, it's a knucklehead banging heads with you. If we can develop strategies for that, now what are we worried about?
Right.
What's left on the table?
That's right. Let me go into a strategy for that I really like.
Go on.
So you talked about how important it was to, I think it's important as we get our presentation started to build a relationship with the audience. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to build a relationship with them. We're trying to get them to like us and enjoy us a little bit and be on our side, as it were. And if we can do that, if we can get the audience on our side, when we have that sniper come up, we can ask the audience to bail us out. And it usually looks something like this. So we'll be talking along and someone will raise their hand and we'll say, well, did you have a question, Larry? And he'll say, I don't like you and anything you stand for, and here's why I think so. And you look at them and you tilt your head to the side a little bit and you say, Larry, that's a very interesting point of view. How do the rest of you feel about that?
Beautiful. We call that a relay, folks.
Yep.
And you know what? You can have a room. Bill, I spoke for the National Flood Insurance Program. I went to an area once where I had 100 people in the audience who were living through a flood, waiting for government checks, and the press was there. Every single one of them hated me. They really did. Mm-hmm. And yet, when the sniper appeared and I relayed it, immediately I was bailed out, because they may not like your topic. They may not like what you're talking about, but everybody recognizes that was just ridiculous. That's embarrassing them. That's embarrassing their company. So the cool thing about that you just heard about from Bill is, before you hold your breath and go, but what if, I'm telling you, the whole audience may not like your topic. They will not like somebody doing that. It's a shot below the belt. Mm. And so I've always told people for decades, first it was send me a mail, send me a letter, send me an email, fax me, whatever it is. Just tell me the first time you relay, you do what Bill just told you to do. Just shoot me a message and tell me I did it and the whole room attacked me. Because I said I'm gonna send you some cash in the mail. I've never had to get rid of that cash.
That's right. It's still in escrow.
Yeah, that's right. I got to talk to your son, the accountant, about that. It's been accruing for a while. Anyway, last thing, and I'm going to leave that, but just one more thing I love that you said. I'm going to just put it in slightly different words. Do you know what was cool? You talked about all the elements of the presentation and you said, forget high school. And you're so right on that. We're talking about things that we're still reading out of the book. We're in the real world. We're talking about things we know about. We are a subject matter expert. So quite frankly, I think the knowledge part is by far the easiest part. That's what's stressing everybody out. And that's the easiest part. Now, as my dad said, you want me to give you something to cry about? I'll give you something.
Wait a minute, was that my dad or your dad?
Yes, I think we had the same dad, 25-year Marine.
Okay. Mine was Air Force. He was a little gentler.
All right. There you go. But getting the attention of the room, building that, taking care of what's in it for the audience. letting them know what the big picture is, letting them know what's expected of them, letting them know who you are and why you. Right. Unfortunately, again, these are the things we don't see taught a whole lot unless we go to a program like the one that Bill's talking about. And it's not that the group will snipe you, it's that the group is uncomfortable. When you learn to present properly and you realize you're not even going to touch the knowledge part, we'll dress up the beginning and the end for you. And Big Talk, there's nothing to fear in that presentation. It's all process behaviors.
Yeah, you work on the beginning and the end. That's what you prepare for. Everything else in the middle is knowledge, and you're the expert. So work on it. I've developed a habit of telling a joke or story at the beginning to open things up, and one at the end, and people expect it of me at this point, and that's kind of what I'm known for. But it's so interesting that speakers, you talked about the tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them routine, and it's just so patently boring. People come. Here's the opening of most talks. Hello, I'm Bill Hellcamp. It's really great to be here. All the things that should have been said when you were introduced, so that you can break right into something interesting and catch their attention. And the other piece of advice I give them is turn your stupid slides off. No one wants to see your introductory slide that says the title and your name on it and has your company logo on it when you start your talk.
Yeah.
It's not interesting. And yet, because we're a visual culture now, that is taking over the star power of your presentation. Your visuals take your audience's face or eye contact away from you and to that screen, and it breaks the relationship. So to have your slides on all the time gets in the way of you having a relationship with that audience. They have a relationship with the slides, and most of your slides are awful. So build the relationship, and then when you need a slide once in a while, turn your slides on, show them a couple things, turn them off again, build the relationship, have a conversation, get interactive, and see how it happens. And if you get interactive, here's what most of your audience wants. They want to be smarter than you. Let them. Let them say things, agree with them, let them have input, show them how that input is valuable. And then they're going to really be on your side. If you listen to them, they're going to be focused on you because you're listening to them.
Yeah. Well, remember in sales, and you and I are sales guys too, what do we say? The more the client talks, the more they like us, right?
That's right.
In a presentation, it's the same thing. The more that audience participates and talks, the more they enjoy the presentation. And at the end, they'll think, I didn't even realize we were talking. They just, it's way more comfortable. I couldn't agree with you more. It's astonishing that we just continue to sort of butcher these presentations. Last thing, and then I want to move this anxiety to other things. And that is focus on what Bill just said. We've been leaning on these PowerPoint slides, keynote slides for far too long. And it's biting us right in the ear right now, because now we got virtual presentations. Now, remember, Bill, when we used to do it live, okay, you might be staring over the screen, but at least I'm still here. Now, my whole screen is a presentation, and I'm a little postage stamp in the corner, and I'm going to sustain your interest this way. So if you didn't ditch the PowerPoint slides before virtual, you're going to have to ditch them now. And that's fine. Actually, it's kind of refreshing every now and then to say, here, let me show you what I'm talking about. Come in, show up, pull it back out, get back on, and do your thing. But yeah, it's become an issue on steroids since virtual came around. Right. So, all right, let's shift. Let's take it, because this was really interesting to me as well. By the way, we could do another hour on this particular little nugget of just getting
2 days
relaxed. Well, and a lot of it, which are when we talk about process behaviors, and you know what, let me do a pause, because you teach this. So I'm right now, let me hear a little bit about your company. So if you want to hear more about this, I want you to reach out to Bill. So Bill, your company and how people get a hold of you.
Well, the company is called Reach Development Systems. My website is reachdev.com, reachdev.com. And I think the best thing you'll find on that is a lot of information, videos, and articles that you can read about presentations and sales. And I think that's the best way to get to know me. Do you like the way that I teach and work with people? And if you do, then we'll get along really well. From a training standpoint, who do I like to do business with? I insist on doing business with organizations that feel their people are their most important asset. If you think it's your systems, if you think it's your product, if you think it's your computer, if you think it's your finances, that's the most important thing, then that's where you're going to put money, time, and value. If you think it's your people, then you'll train them and you'll help them get better, and that will reward your organization and reward your individuals. I just love the old training story about the vice president goes to the president, said, we need to train people. It's going to cost a lot of money. The president says, what if we train them and they leave? And the vice president says, well, that's awful bad, but what if we don't train them and they stay? And I think that's really true. What if we don't train people and we stay? We'll have a lot of people that are just mediocre at what they do and never get better. So that's my value that I bring to them is give
Beautiful.
me the people give me your best people. We'll make them even better. And if we do that, your company will grow and prosper, and we'll be good friends because of that.
Good. I really don't take much, but I'm definitely going to take that story.
Oh, okay, good.
That is a great story. It really is. And because I work sometimes in the automobile industry, and they are famous for telling me, why do I want to train them? We're just going to lose
They'll
them.
leave. Yep.
And, with this, I don't have the numbers now, but with a turnover ratio of close to 900%. My argument was always, I never had your joke. I said, what if we train them and only 400% leave?
That's right. That's right.
But anyway, all right. So let's bring it home.
Okay.
Really important point. I want to finish with how we apply some of these aspects of dealing with anxiety to other aspects of our life, because I deal with people in career transition, and many people right now may be listening who aren't giving presentations, but maybe just in meetings, just things, their anxiety kicks up. What can you take from the presentation side and move to the life side?
Well, I think the first thing I would say is when we overcome a fear of something that has been challenging us for a long time, we create a backbone that maybe we didn't have. We create an understanding that we can overcome. This is what's so powerful about personal development and personal growth. When I overcome and I get better in an area, it gets me excited about getting better in other areas, and I start to multiply that in a very positive spiral forward. It's the same thing that's happening if I'm not getting better. I multiply that in a negative spiral down. So the thought is develop a need, want, or desire to change. Go out and get some knowledge or some information about that. Apply that information. That's where most people fall down. They get all kinds of information and then they never do anything with it. So apply that information and then see how that changes your life. It'll change your attitude, and then you'll see other areas that you want to grow. So that's kind of, I call it the cycle of self-development. Something I learned a long time ago, and I really believe in it. The more we change and get better, the more we're excited about the possibility of changing and getting better. And then I think the second piece that is important for transference is that ability to interact more effectively with people. One of the challenges that most people have in public speaking is they take all of the burden on themselves and they say, I have to know everything and then present this everything to you. But if we learn how to get interactive in our presentations, asking questions, asking people for their input, getting ideas from them, checking out their process and their thoughtfulness around a particular topic, then those people they get on our side and they want to be part of this conversation. And it works the same in business meetings. It works the same when you're working with your employees. It works the same when you're working with your boss. Quit trying to be the know-it-all and be the sponge. Be the person that says, I want to take what I know and what you know, and let's mix that whole brew together and come up with something better than any of us are individually. And when that's your attitude toward life and toward people, it takes a lot of pressure off of you. Being perfect, being the smartest, being always on stage, it's tough. But if you have friends in the room, then they help you out, just as you did in the I think you called it the reflex, where you ask for the group to help you. And if
Right.
they'll help you. And so will
Right.
people in business. And so, unless you're a complete ass, and then they won't, they'll watch you struggle. If you want to be the know-it-all and then you go and finally ask them something, uh, then you're going to get what you deserve.
Right. Relay. Relay.
Relay. Thank you.
Sounds
Relay.
like you ate too much, a reflux
That I've got.
which is what we're feeling inside, by the
That's
way.
right. Well,
Uh,
those physical things we feel up there are real
Yeah.
to us. And
Yeah.
there's so many. One of the things I tell people in presentations, you're lied to by your body all the time. The things you're feeling in your stomach, the things you're feeling in your hands, time slows down, your mouth gets dry, and it's all just a lie that your body's telling you. It's all that fight or flight syndrome. And you can do neither of those things when you're up speaking. You have to gentle yourself into it and build a relationship. So don't let your body lie to you when you're up in front of a group.
Fabulous. I will tell you, it's funny. I wrote a piece called "The Pursuit of Imperfection." It's one of my favorite pieces, actually, because it's so much more identifiable. And it's, to me, I think we make this mistake of wanting to be perfect. People can't identify with it. I went through one slump in my life as a professional speaker, maybe another one, I just didn't know it, but where my scores were going down. And I didn't know why. And I was on my own. At Xerox, we've got a lot of valuations, got a lot of managers coming in and out. Generally, you knew what was going on. But I was just traveling around the world, giving speeches, and noticed my numbers were sinking. I thought, it's the economy, it's people, anything but me. Finally flew another trainer out. And what the feedback is you're getting so good at this topic that you're almost coming off as arrogant. People can't relate to what you're doing. You were better when you didn't know quite as much, when you weren't quite as comfortable. So I'm just adding to what you're saying by telling you all that be careful what you wish for. You don't want to be perfect. That does annoy an audience. They can relate to somebody who has an occasionally, who says, let's see where we're going now, whose every transition is real, who feels like we're at a Starbucks having a conversation.
Right.
And so once I learned that, and it's not that I dumbed it down, it's that I just decided, let's go back to being Rob, having a nice time with an audience, and stop pursuing perfection. It's unobtainable, and it annoys people.
That's right. That's right.
All right, Bill.
Let me close
having you on.
I'm going to close with a story. Can I close with a story before you?
You may. And
okay.
When you finish your story, close one more time with how we can get a hold of you.
Okay.
So story and how do we get a hold of you? Go.
All right. Well, so this is about my first presentation when I was with a new job, teaching people how to train, and with a training company. So I was doing I had about 100 people in a room at a chamber meeting about 60 miles from my hometown. And I got the reviews back. As a matter of fact, I still have the piece of paper. I got the reviews back. Out of the 100 people, about 96 of them liked me, and about 3 of them didn't like me, and 1 didn't care. So I took this into my boss when I got this. I said, what did I do? What did I do here, Steve? What was wrong? He goes, you got 96% of people said they liked you. Shut up, man. That's really good. Quit worrying about it. He said, those 3%, you don't know what happened to them that morning. Their dog wet the carpet. Their kid came home with a bad grade the night before. Something happened with their wife that morning, or their husband. You don't know what happened. They just had a bad day. You can't please everybody. If you try to please everybody, then you're just going to tick off a different 3% of the people that you're going to. So go up there, be yourself, enjoy yourself, and then you'll get the most of the room. And that was the best advice I think I ever got. And I got it really early. You can get hold of me at reachdev.com, or at my email is bill.hellcamp, HELLKAMP @reachdev.com. be glad to talk with anybody about what we do. You can also, I have a podcast that I do with a friend of mine, Scott Plum. winningatselling.com is another place you can get hold of me.
I hear you get very good guests on that show.
We do. We had this guy, Rob, I can't pronounce his last name, but he was great.
Yeah. That's a little harder than Hellcamp. That would be Jollis, folks. I had a wonderful time talking to these two. And that's one of the reasons why I immediately wanted to book them here. I loved your story, by the way. I would add to it that when you start obsessing on, let's just call it that 3%, you may very well be able to take care of that 3%. You're going to lose the other 97% going after them.
That's
so
right.
Bill speaks the truth once again. A great story and a great reminder. In any case, wonderful having you on the show. Really love the tips and ideas that you gave us. Thanks so much. I hope I can have you on again sometime down the road. And folks, thank you so much for listening. Really appreciate it. And stay safe.
Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's show, please rate and recommend it on iTunes, Outcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also get more information on this show and Rob at jollis.com.